So the next pillar of integrity is impeccable agreements. And you'll see it if you drop straight down on the page. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again so that you can read along with me. So impeccable integrity, number 7 says to see that keeping agreements increases your aliveness rather than thinking of agreements as rules people are making you follow. So this is a mindset shift that happens where we actually see that us moving through life in integrity actually creates more of what we want. Like my old ideas of integrity was it was literally this rule system I had to go by, but I wanted to do it because I wanted to be a good person. And when I realized that commitments are a tool that I get to make, I get to say yes and I get to say no based on my values and based on my life goals, not based on what other people are saying. And so commitments, agreements now become my friend. They're like the thing that creates space in my world. So this number 7 is really about a shift in our mind in how we see commitments and agreements. So I really invite everybody to try that on. Maybe how I've been seeing or feeling or experiencing commitments or agreements isn't the most powerful way or the most conducive for my growth and my forward progress. And so how I've been viewing agreements might be out of integrity with what agreements actually are. So be willing to see that inside of you. Number 8, this is probably where most people, oh yeah, this is what integrity is, right? Number 8 is to keep agreements you make. If I say I'm going to be there, I'll be there. If I say I'm going to do that, I'll do that. So when I first went through these, I was like, yeah, I have integrity. I keep agreements, right? And then I got to number 9, to not make agreements you don't want to make. And I was like, oh, crap. I don't know how many times I said, yeah, I'll do that. And I didn't really want him to do it. And then I forced myself to go do it because of my integrity. And then that reinforces the idea in our minds that agreements are these slave driving mechanisms. It's not because agreements are, it's because we haven't learned to say no. Like number 9 is probably one of the scariest integrity components for people to develop, especially if they're heroes or yes men that just love to please people. To be able to say no and to say it effectively, and that's what that's all about. And so 8, 9, and 10 kind of all go together. You know, to keep agreements you make, to not make agreements you don't want to make, and to select agreements that you do want to make. So getting really clear on your agreements before you ever say yes or no. What most people do is they say yes to a whole bunch of crap, and then out of obligation they go try to do some of it, and they usually say no to the things that they really want to do. And then so they organize their life in a way that commitments and agreements feel like a burden where everybody else has lease on their life. And so this is all about turning around that mindset and using agreements and commitments to take back your life and to organize your life and structure your life in a way that empowers you and gives you access to all the forward momentum that you need. And then number 11 is to know how to change agreements if they're not working. So this is an art. It's like, cool, Levi, I commit to you to meeting you at 4 p.m. at such and such restaurant, right? And then things are happening. Maybe there's a car accident. Maybe there's bad traffic. And I realize, oh my gosh, I am not going to be there at 4 p.m. So this is simply the art of changing an agreement. Levi, hey, we committed to meeting there at 4. I'm on my way, but I know I'm not going to get there before 4:15 or 4:20. Did I just change the agreement? Yes. Did changing the agreement keep me in integrity? Yes. Changing the agreement created more integrity. It created a deeper level of respect for the other person and integrity for each other. And so to not renegotiate that agreement would be like, oh crap, oh, I'm going to be late. And then for the next 30, 45, however long you have to drive, you're in your head just screwing yourself over about what a piece of garbage you are and you're trying, but darn traffic just ruined it for me and blah, 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 blah. And then 4 o'clock rolls around and Levi's sitting at the table going, okay, where's Kyle? Huh. Yeah, he said he was going to meet me here. My time's kind of important to me. And, well, now it's 4:05. No Kyle. Is he coming? What the heck? Now it's 4:10. Not even a text. And he's in his head going, what the crap? Does he not value my time? What kind of guy does this? I hope he's okay. Man, I hope he's not hurt. So then all of his time and energy gets wasted on something else. And all of my time and energy gets wrapped up and wasted on something else because I don't know how to renegotiate agreement or change an agreement. Where the simply saying, oh, this agreement's no longer working, let's make the adjustment so that we're both in integrity. Now Levi has 20 minutes, or he might get to catch up on some emails or text with somebody else and not be all in his head worried about what's going on or if people respect him. I might be able to focus on traffic and maybe have a conversation or listen to a book on tape some more and actually get something out of it. So knowing how to change agreements that aren't working is like a vital piece of integrity that most people look at it as a breach of integrity. So what we're really wanting to do is reframe how we approach integrity. So with these ones, it's like, say no to stuff. Like saying no is such a huge piece of integrity, because if I say to Levi, yeah, I'll meet you at 4, and then somebody else goes, hey, Kyle, stop by our house at 3:30. I go, yeah, okay. Even though I know there's no way I'm going to be able to stop by their house and get over to my appointment with Levi at 4, I'm saying yes to all sorts of things. And then I try to do it. Oh, I tried really hard and time got away from me and I'm a victim to all this bullshit. What's true is I can say, oh, what time? 3:30 doesn't work for me. I've already committed. I've already made an agreement. So I get to say no so that I can honor my yes. That gives power to my yes. That gives power to me so I trust myself. So saying no is one of the most powerful skills you can learn when you're talking about integrity, commitments, and agreements. Learn to say no. I've heard it say, learn to pick your nose. Pick your yeses and pick your no's. And that can be a fun play on it too if we're all busy picking our nose. But so this one's a pretty straightforward one, but it also kind of shifts the way we look at it. So before we wrap up this video, I want to ask some of the people on this call, do you have any questions about this particular pillar of integrity? And feel free to unmute yourself if you do. Otherwise, the assignments that I would leave you with this particular pillar is notice where and when you make agreements that you don't want to keep. And right now, you probably have some of these going on in your life. Right now, you've probably said yes to something you didn't want to do. And I invite you in the next 24 hours or less to call that person back and say, hey, I notice I said yes to this. And what as I'm looking at my calendar and I'm looking at all my stuff, I'm realizing this doesn't work for me. Can we renegotiate it? Can we do it a different day? Can you find somebody else to do it? What can we find to work? I invite you to go do that and notice how much energy it clears up in your space. This is the other awesome thing about integrity. Integrity gives you access to lots of energy that is otherwise lost in life out there trying to take care and manage broken agreements, breakdowns in integrity. When we're in integrity, we're not managing any of that stuff. We just have access to all the energy. So integrity is an awesome thing, and going through these step by step, and then all of us getting committed to any time we notice us out of integrity, pull out our paper, highlight the area that's sticking out to us, learn to make a shift there. Any one of the shift moves that we've already gone over are going to support you in all of these adjustments to integrity. And if those shift moves don't seem to fit, reach out to any one of us coaches and we'll help you tailor make something that's going to help you adjust. But once you get committed to learning about integrity and making adjustments when you're out of integrity, it will just make sense and it'll flow. So I invite you to just hold on to that commitment. and we'll dive into more information on that in the next video. Oh, did you have a question, Levi?
I do, or maybe some input or whatever. We'll just explore it here, because I'm not seeing it anywhere else on the pillars of integrity. And when it comes to agreements, there's another aspect that kind of pertains to what the question that Brandon typed in the chat there. One really huge lesson that I've recently learned with integrity, well, I feel like this applies to integrity, is, and I don't know how to put it into words just yet, but it's about honoring my boundaries, right? Yeah. And holding people to their agreements.
Yes.
As well as speaking up when somebody has done something that violates what I feel is an agreement.
Yeah.
Spoken or otherwise.
A lot of that we're going to cover in healthy responsibility.
Okay.
Which will be next. But the one thing I do want to say, and reading through people's comments about how do I work with other people that don't get that changing the agreement serves everybody. Most of the time, if we've made agreements in integrity, like the one that I described about meeting you at 4:00 and we're just making adjustments to it, most of the time people are going to get that making this adjustment works. The times that it doesn't is usually because you made an agreement up front that didn't work in the first place, but favored the other person. And so when you're going to renegotiate it or make changes to the agreement, they're like, oh, it doesn't favor me as much anymore. And they may not be people who value integrity as much as you. And so there's times that making adjustments to these agreements require you to sometimes just say, like, I've made agreements and then later on tried to change them, they didn't work. And then I just honored my end of the agreement and then ended it, and just with that person going forward, I either no longer made agreements with them or I made even clearer agreements. And that was just feedback for me. Like, I've done that in business before where I made an agreement around a money amount, and then when it didn't work out, the other person was unwilling to adjust. And so I fulfilled based on what I had said, and then I just cut the ties and just said, I can't do that type of work for that money anymore. If you want me to do it, it'll be more, reach out to me. And then going forward, I made really clear agreements. So in construction, change orders are really common, right? And if I didn't have signed contracts that allowed for change orders or defined what a change order could be, then I lost thousands of dollars doing that in construction, just going on a fixed price bid and then having a whole bunch of stuff change. And I've never included a change order clause in my contract. So I learned from hard experience and losing thousands of dollars to include a change order. So that got to come back to me. I didn't make that agreement right going forward. Now I get to learn and move forward and actually include things going forward. So I think that kind of answers what you're like. The majority of the time, people are going to appreciate you making adjustments that establish deeper levels of integrity, and you're going to come up against places in your world where you not having clarity up front put you in an agreement that doesn't work very well. You can get right out of those too. You can just say, well, look, I just realized it's not working for me, and if you're not willing to make the adjustment, we need to terminate the agreement. And sometimes those are painful and expensive, and sometimes you get to weigh and balance. Am I willing to do more work for less money or whatever just to take care of this agreement so that my reputation and how I feel about myself goes forward unscathed? I did that several times in construction before I learned how to make my agreements work for me. Does that kind of cover that? Awesome. All righty. Well, we will wrap up this recording on impeccable agreements, and we'll see you on the next one.